Welcome to the Del Walmsley Radio Show. Del challenges the status quo, questions everything, and empowers you to return to your core beliefs to make your life better. If you're ready to hear the truth and get your roadmap to the lifestyle you really want, the next hour will change your life. And now, your host, self-made millionaire, national award-winning investor of the year, CEO and founder of Lifestyles Unlimited, Del Walmsley.
Welcome to the Del Walmsley Radio Show, where the hype ends and the help begins. I'm your host, Del Walmsley, and as always, working your financial freedom. Been away for about a week, guys, and spent a lot of time looking at homes for sale all over the country. And it's quite interesting as you go out and you pursue this process, what you find out about in life. And so today I want to just talk about some of the things that I ran into as I was out and about in life, talking to people and getting to know people and so on and so forth. One of the first things that I ran into, which was interesting, is I met some people at a hotel, and we just happened to be hanging out at the bar and talking. And, you know, somehow, some way, the conversation turns around to what do you do? And, you know, I talk about what I do as a real estate investor, and radio show comes up, and they say, okay, interesting. And as that conversation went on, I mean, it just friendly conversation about stuff. It really wasn't like we were trying to get anywhere with it. It wasn't like I was trying to convert them or anything. We were just talking. But the next day, we decided to stay an extra day and look at some more stuff. And so I wandered on downstairs, and I found those guys. They were there again. In fact, their whole group of them were there on a business trip. And a guy came up to me and said, "Man, I went up and I listened to your podcast and some of your ideas and so on and so forth." And he says, "Man, it's really interesting. I'm thinking about doing it." And that really was interesting to me, that just an infrequent conversation to somebody at a bar could start someone's mind to thinking about retirement, when the whole group of them were there as a business training class, the leadership training type of a deal for their company, big company. Won't tell the name, won't tell the people, anybody. But the bottom line, it was a big, leadership training meeting they were at. And yet some guy really was willing to come up and say, "Hey, I really would like to retire." And the point I'm getting to, it's kind of struck me because I really didn't anticipate this conversation, which made it interesting. But the part I'm trying to wrap my arms around here for you guys is that how many of you out there right now really would like to retire and just don't even know that you would like to retire? How many of you have any idea what the possibilities are in life? And I would suggest to you that my excursion over this last 5 or 6 days has proved to me that almost nobody understands. Nobody, that is, that isn't a Lifestyles member, that isn't watching other people doing it and seeing it done, and people retiring in 2 to 3 years or less. And so when you propose that concept to a person, the guy's 40 years old, he's in the apex of his career, he's peaking in his company, and you go, "But would you like to give all this up and do nothing?" And they're like, "What?" It just doesn't even click, because they're still thinking about climbing to the top of the mountain. They don't think they're at the top of the mountain yet. They think they need to keep climbing. So you see that the people out there just don't really even have any understanding that there is a possibility to retire in 2 or 3 years. They just can't even conceive it. I talked to one guy, it was amazing, and it blew his mind so much that he got mad. And he didn't get mad like he yelled at me or anything like that. He rolled his eyes at me when I told him how much money we'd made on some deal. We were talking about some deal, and I said, we made like $1.2 million on this deal here. And he's like, roll his eyes, like, "You can't make that much money." And I think he was a financial planner, I think what he was, why he was that way, because if nothing else, he was a self-proclaimed stock picker. You know, those guys that knows everything about the stock market and just prides himself on being the stock picker of the group, whatever. But he just got mad. He got irritated. It was ridiculous. He couldn't take hearing that there's a better way. And then like this other guy, he's like, "My gosh, I never even conceived that this could be." Now, there's more to that story that probably is more interesting than just the fact that he never conceived it till he ran into me. But there's the fact that once he listened to some of my podcast material and came back, his discussion with me was, I've got a friend that flips houses. And I'm thinking I'm going to start doing that. Because the company they worked for, they were builders. They built things, buildings, I think it was. So, he's a builder by trade. to him building is easy. And I said, look, anytime you're born with a hammer in your hand, everything in life looks like a nail. The way you make money, you conceivably make money, is by building something. So how does he think he's going to get real estate? He's going to build it. He doesn't think that he's going to buy it. He doesn't think that even that he was going to buy and renovate. He was just going to build it. And then he was going to flip it. Then his idea was, okay, well, I don't buy, I'll just buy and rehab and flip it. And everything in these guys' minds are flip it. Why do people think flip it? It doesn't fit any of the rules. It doesn't make you wealthier. You worked, you earned, you paid taxes. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to create passive streams of income. Now, while I was gone, over the last month or so, I've been in contract on some different businesses, and I bought 3 different businesses. I turned it over to my attorney to create the companies, my brokers to negotiate the deals, and my CFO and accounting team to set up the companies and the money and the finances and the whole bit. So I've been gone. I'm getting emails left and right. Hey, you need to sign this. You need to do this, whatever. But I'm gone. It's all going on. It just got done. I didn't build anything. I didn't flip anything. The income that's going to come from these 3 businesses will come in. It will have depreciation to cover it, so the income will be tax deferred, because when you have enough depreciation on your real estate, you can take that depreciation, write it off against the income that comes in, and so you don't pay taxes on that income. And I won't be running these. There's other companies going to be running them. I'm not going to run them. I'm just going to own them. And so I'm going to have totally passive income, tax-free, long-term. It's retirement money. It's retirement money. So let's just jokingly perceive that each one of these businesses throws off 10 grand a month. I've just added another 30 grand a month. And that's kind of what it is, round that number. Another $30,000 a month. Now, some people go, well, I wish I had $30,000 a month. You would if you bought 3 businesses, which is the next weird, strange part of this story. I've been out looking at houses because my wife's got her 10-year itch on her house and she wants a new home. And it happened 10 years ago and we had to have a new home. And we went from a 5,000 square foot home to a 16,000 square foot home, right? So now we looked at homes from $6 million up to $26 million, everywhere in between. When price is not a problem, it's not a function, then it becomes a function of what do you really want. And the really strange thing about this, if we want to go through this when we come back from the break, the really strange thing about all this is that every one of these homes were built to the specifications of somebody. Somebody's dream home is being sold. And you know why? Every single one of the monster homes were being sold. Every one. Because either the husband or the wife died. And the person left behind doesn't want the monster house. And so, my friends, there it is. We have it. People work their entire lives. They work till they're 60, 70. Some of the people we're looking at, their homes were 70 and 80 years old. And they die. They work their entire life to buy a big, gigantic house and die. Wow. There it is. When we come back, we'll talk about some options other than that, like maybe retire young, live a great life, and stay healthy. We'll take a short break. Be right back with the Del Walmsley Radio Show.
Welcome back. Now here's some more unconventional wisdom to set you free from the man on a mission to retire America, one person at a time, Del Walmsley.
Welcome back to Del Walmsley Radio Show. Today we're talking about people not believing that you can retire in 2 to 3 years. And I was just trying to do a little quick math here. I looked up what it said. Household income, 2019 median income was $64,000. So let's just take a look at that number here for a second. $64,000 a year divided by 12 means you're making $5,000 a month. The median income, the middle, the very middle, half of people make more, half make less, is $5,000 a month. That's a whole lot of people that make around $5,000 a month. Probably most people. In fact, I probably should have looked up what the average was, or I could have looked up the spread, in other words, where it changes and so forth. Make the conversation more interesting. But just what I'm trying to get to is this. They don't take $5,000 home. They're paying income taxes on that money. They're paying, first of all, federal income tax, sometimes even state income tax. They're all paying Social Security, and they're paying Medicare taxes. So if you work for yourself, you're paying double Social Security and Medicare taxes. You're paying 15.3%. If you're working for an employer, they pay half, you pay half. So say you earn $5,000 a month, and they take 15% for income taxes and 7% for Social Security. So they're taking 22% of that. So you're ending up with 78% is what you end up with, I believe. So times 78%, you're taking home $4,160 a month, right? So a rent house in this day and age probably pulls in about, I guess, $400 average rent house. And interesting enough, in the conversation, there was a lady that was there, and she had 7 rent houses. And there's 8 or 10 guys at this management training program, right? And there's one woman, and the one woman has 7 houses. And all the other guys have nothing, except they're thinking about flipping. So when you only have to replace your earned income, you don't look at what you earn. You look at what you have to take home. And when you go to that, you'll see people that make $100,000 a year who take out taxes, take out Social Security, Medicare, work for themselves, pay 15% Social Security and Medicare, pay 30% income taxes, 15% Social Security and Medicare, that's 45%, 12% for state income tax in California, so that's 57%, right? And then they take out money and put it in a 401k. So they're taking home only about 40% of what they earn. So 40% of that $5,000 is only $2,000 they're actually living on. And that's kind of weird numbers. But you think about this, it's really not as hard to retire as you think. You just don't perceive it. One of the reasons you don't perceive it is because in your mind, retirement is an age. You're thinking everybody has to work at least to that age, right? You'd be a fool if you didn't work. Why? And number 2, you think retirement is a number. It's an amount of money written on something. And when you get to that amount of money, then you're there. Well, that kind of thinking is going to keep you from retiring. Because what is that amount of money? What is enough? So I was trying to tell this real estate broker, I was laughing with him. I said, look, let's start the story at the beginning. I bought a $40,000 condominium to live in. I sold that to move up to a $120,000 home that was like 2,500 square feet. Brand new, bought it brand new. I sold that and moved up to a $400,000 home that was 4,000 square feet, but I bought it for $200,000. I stole it. I found somebody who was in need, and I bought it for half price. So I paid $200,000 for a $400,000 home. So I made a profit on the house, right? Then I found a house that a builder built for himself. He put in every special thing he'd ever put in a house ever because he built it for himself, and I bought that one. And that was my first $1 million home. It was 5,000 square feet. Then when I got married, my wife didn't want that house because I had girlfriends previous in my life, during which time I owned that home. So that meant there was DNA in there somewhere that had to go. So she got rid of that. And the only way she got me out of a 5,000 square foot, $1 million home that was just incredible in a great part of town was by getting me a 16,000 square foot home with a 20-car garage and landscaping that's better than any hotel landscaping in this area. I mean, you'd have to be in like Hawaii to have a better landscape than I do. So it was worth moving. It was worth moving. But you know how she really got me to buy the house? Is that the house had been built for $3.5 million, I think. And the builder told me he couldn't do it. He couldn't replace the house for what he built it for. He said, that he didn't own it. He wasn't selling it. It was the guy that bought it was selling it. He said it cost $5 million. Right now, I just had it appraised the other day. It was $4,750,000. I think it's what it's appraised for. The guy that had it just went through a divorce. And so his wife took him for half everything he was worth. Then he couldn't afford the house, and I bought it for half price. So I bought it for $2.4. That's why I bought it, because I got a deal. And I got to live in a mansion as a part of the deal. It was an incredible thing. But, I never, ever, ever would have thought about buying a house like this house, except my wife wanted it. And she figured out that if we kept looking and searching, there's going to be something that's going to fit all of our needs, have everything we want. Mine was the garage. I needed a place to put my trains. I needed a place to put a gym. I needed a place to put my cars and my shop. I wanted that. I had a 3-car garage in the other house. $1 million home, 3-car garage. Hated it. It even had a shop, and it still wasn't enough. So when I moved here, it was like heaven. So now she's trying to get me to move out to someplace else. Now, I just told her, I said, look, what do you think you're going to have to find that's interesting enough to me to want to uproot myself from the place I thought I was going to live the rest of my life? I mean, just my favorite home, right? And what I'm getting to here in a long, drawn-out way about all this, nothing's ever enough. There's always one more thing that you could want in life. And because I've lived in this house for 10 years and I've not bought any new homes, not bought any cars, not bought anything that's a toy. I just make money and buy more companies, make more money and buy more companies, make more money and buy more companies. One day I wake up and I go, my God, I got a lot of money. Maybe we should go buy a new home. And then you go out there and so you're in a $5 million home. Let's go look at 6. Well, let's go to 26. We'll be right back with the Del Walmsley Radio Show.
Welcome back. Now here's some more unconventional wisdom to set you free from the man on a mission to retire America, one person at a time, Del Walmsley.
Welcome back to the Del Walmsley Radio Show. Today we are discussing why don't people understand you can retire at whatever age you want to. The only difference is you have to build up passive streams of income to allow you to live at whatever level of income that you want to exist at. And so this is a giant thought I'm trying to get across, and I don't feel like I'm doing a very good job of it, but I'm still going to try. And that giant thought is, hey, the average person retires with $63,000 total asset at their retirement age. Now, if you go younger, if you retire younger, the average person in 30s, is 30-year-old, has about $45,000 saved up, and they're saying here, if you're in your 20s, you probably only have about $16,000 saved up. So you can see what's happening going from 16 at 20 to 45 at 30 to 63 by age 40 in 40s, yeah? So, what do you save up to maybe? $100,000 by the time? And I looked down there and said, okay, what does the average age of person retires? And it's interesting, I caught my eyes that it depends where you live. Like in Washington, D.C., the average person doesn't retire until they're 67 years old. If you live in another part of the country, the average time is 61 years old. But it goes on here and it says, but interestingly enough, although the average retirement age is 62 years of age, 64% of Americans retire between ages 55 and 65. In other words, most people retire after they're 55. Right? Sometime before they're 65. That's the real crux. 64% of all the people fall into that category. What I'm trying to tell you is not at Lifestyles. At Lifestyles, the average person retires about 3 years to 5 years after they start doing this stuff. Now add that 3 to 5 years to whatever age you are, and that's it. We've got kids that came here that were able to live off their passive income by the time they're 30 years of age. They could retire. I did it when I was 34. David Fisher, one of my mentors and presenters, he brags about I used to say I did it in 2.5 years, 3.5 years, I think it was, whatever. He said he did it in 2.5, so he did it a year faster than I did or something like that. I mean, we get our stories mixed up. It's been 30 years now I've been retired. And whether it's 2 years or 3 years, it doesn't really matter. It was in my mid-30s. And I've been the Pied Piper for retirement ever since. And so now that I'm old, you have to understand, when you retire your way of retiring, you don't earn more money. You eat up your money. You consume it. When you retire my way, you continue to build your income. So each and every year for the rest of your life, you make more money than you made the year before. I'm going to have 3 more businesses closed here in a couple months, couple weeks, whatever it is to get done here. By I think the last one closed by January or something. And I'll have that $30,000 a month more income for the rest of my life. And if I want another, I'll get another one and another one and another one. I'll just keep adding to my income. So, well, Del, what do you do with all that money? Bang. There it goes. That's where all of a sudden it gets interesting. Your wife goes, let's go look at houses 4, 5, 10 times the size we have now and quality we have now. Locations better than what we have now. Because we can afford it. It won't hurt us to spend the money. We've got more money than we need to survive the rest of our lives. So let's go spend it, which brings you into the next equation. It's harder to spend a lot of money than you think it is. Because when you get up there, there's very few people that live at that level that gives you the variety of choices that you would want to make. It's not like if you live in a house, $400,000 home, you can find 800,000 of those things in this country. They're everywhere. $400,000 house is just probably the median size house. In fact, that'd be an interesting one to look up. But when you're talking about homes that cost $20 million or better, you're like, man. First of all, a little story just so you know this. They won't just show them to you. They make you come to the table with a financial statement. I'm telling you the truth. They would not let me go and tour these homes that we looked at for the last week now until we proved our wealth, because they don't want to mess with you. So don't get the idea, hey, that sounds like fun. Let's jump in the car and go look at $1 million homes with Dell. No, you can't. They won't let you in the door. And you have to have appointments and reservations, and literally they'll have 2 or 3 people there, so that there's extra people watching the house while you go through the houses. It's an amazing deal. But I guess I'd want to do the same thing in my house. When I have parties here at my house, I actually have undercover cops, so the people who are in the party don't even know who they are. And they're just mingling, and they're cops. And then I have plainclothes cops. They're outside directing traffic and watching the pool. And then we have, lifeguards on the pool even. It's crazy, the difference in the way people live. But as I was going through, it really struck me. This is a very, very, very harsh thing that slapped me in the face. And that is, all different kinds of people have all different kinds of tastes. I mean, you go in one house and you go, man, who could have built this? Whose taste would this satisfy? But it's a $10, $20 million home. He goes, well, obviously money doesn't give one taste, does it? Obviously money's not the answer. It's money, but it's not taste. So then you look and go, oh my God, this house is perfect, except, and I found one house that was perfect, except it didn't have a gym. How can you have a $10, $20 million home and not have a gym in the house, nor a place to put one? No room was designed that could have been remodeled to make a gym without tearing the house apart and taking something that was important out of the house. Because you can't put a gym on the second floor, really. You have to rebuild the whole house structurally, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's got to be on the basement floor. It's got to be on the bottom floor. And so some stuff they just designed it where there was no extra space. Then there was other stuff that was so elaborate, so incredible. You look at it and go, why would I buy this? I would never go there. There was one that had a automobile museum / convention center. In your backyard, you've got your own convention center, who by day, guises itself as a automobile display center for your private car collection. And by night, they pull the cars out, they put in tables, and it's a convention center, along with a complete kitchen, full kitchen, butler kitchen, pantry, 4 different bathrooms, because this is an event center. There's 4 bathrooms in this thing because it's an event center. It's huge. Just judging size, I look it up. But I'm just sitting here babbling. I know that, but you got to understand how I was dazed and confused by some of this stuff. I mean, there were a couple houses on the sides of cliffs, and you look out and you go, my gosh, this is beautiful. But now that you're built out the side of a cliff, where do you put your car? There's no garages. Where do you put your weight room? Where do you put your shop where you build things and play with your toys? And they don't have them. But there's a great view. They're a beautiful view. But if you're built out the side of a cliff, they didn't plan on an extra 4,000 or 5,000 square feet for funzy in a big open room, because that costs so much to dig into the side of the mountain and do. They didn't do it. So you have all these possibilities. But what you see is, not only do you have all these possibilities, you see people have money. We all live our life thinking that everybody's as poor as we are. But my gosh, they're not. Now, granted, most of the homes that I went to, they could give me a name of a person that owned a business that you would know of. In other words, these were big businesses. And like one owned a grocery store chain, a whole chain, that kind of thing. Another guy was an engineer, owned an engineering company that built skyscrapers. I mean, like a Donald Trump kind of guy. This is some incredible stuff, man. But we don't ever think about it. And you mostly never get to see these kinds of houses because they're nestled in behind guarded gates. In almost every case, you can't get up to the house to see it, even to drive by the front of it, to understand what's in there. And it really blew my mind, I have to tell you this. But what I found to be interesting to me as I went through this process was that none of them, no matter how big or expensive they were perfect. They always had a different taste to them and a different set of amenities that didn't add up to what I have right here in my own home. Take a short break, be right back.
Walmsley talks about buying your way back from corporate America through real estate.
A massive change in my life. My personal residence I lived in was a one-bedroom condo, cost $425 a month. This covered it. My automobile car payment was only $300 and some a month. This covered it. I was buying my way back from corporate America. I could feel it.
Lifestyles Unlimited will teach you how to buy your way back from corporate America. Get in control. Get into our live online free workshop. Register at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com. And now a word on retirement from Del Walmsley.
The average person thought they retire at 59 and a half, 60, then they said 64, then it was 65, then it was 66, then all of a sudden they jump right to 70. 70 is the new 59, 70 is the new 64. Then it was, hey, most people are going to work all the way into their 80s.
Do you really want to work in your 80s? Or would you like to retire in 5 years or less? Find out how on Lifestyles Unlimited's live online free workshop. Register at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
Welcome back. Now here's some more unconventional wisdom to set you free from the man on a mission to retire America, one person at a time, Del Walmsley.
So today we're discussing some observations I had while spending about a week driving around looking at houses for sale and investigating a different quality of lifestyle. And I've been all over the place on this because it's really a story of two tails wagging the dog. One tail is, hey, here's the real world people over here that were at a convention. I'm going to try to picture this for you. There's 20 people at a bar. They're all happily at a training program to get better at being an employee. That's their goal in life, is to be a better employee. Then up comes lady and gentleman, husband and wife, and start talking to them. And what they're doing there for this event is they're out trying to figure out how to buy a home nicer than a 16,000 square foot home with a 20-car garage and an unbelievable landscaped compound. And they're working at, thinking at, struggling with, how do we get something nicer? What should we get nicer? What amenities should we demand we have in a new place to live? What's nicer? Do you want more square footage? Obviously, nobody needs more than 16,000 square feet. We did see a house that we liked. It was 17,800 square feet. Saw another one that was broke up into, like I said, had the house itself was probably about, I can't remember now, probably 15,000 square foot, but then it had this auto place, convention center, whatever it was. That was another 6,000 square feet. So that probably was over 20,000 square feet. And then you go through all these things. You see all these different ones, but every one we'd go into, it would be, but if this one had what that one had, and if that one had what this one had, and if these two could be put together, and pretty soon you come to the conclusion you're never going to get what you want in the house unless you build it yourself. But that's like a pain in the butt. That's a full-time job to build yourself a house. There we go, builder again. Build, do, work. I don't want to build. I want to drop $1 on the floor and walk in the door and be done. So then after all that, these guys are there wanting to know how to get from that end of the bar where you're talking with your buddies about how to be a good employee to that end of the bar where you're talking with your buddies about how to use some of this wealth you've accumulated that you haven't really even thought about using up until now. We got all this. I'm going to die someday. I might as well spend it, right? Can't take it with me. How could they both end up in the same place at the same time? Meet, talk, and come away with, hey, nice guys. Wouldn't do what they're doing. They talk about their lives and their families and their kids and the households they live in. It's just mundane, get up and go to work stuff every single day. Day in, day out, day in, day out. How do you go from that mentality over to, you know what, I heard this guy on the radio, I'm going to go retire. And then the spouse goes, you're insane, I'll divorce you, you're a lunatic, and that guy can't be real. It can't actually happen. Nobody could start with nothing and be poor like he was and then be rich. It's a lie. It's a TV lie. Somebody made it up. In our case, it's a radio line. And then you walk in the door, and these really, really wealthy people are trying to sell you their home. And you're not having it. Not because you can't afford it. No, I give you price. I don't care about the rate. But would you put that, could you place this in this house like we saw in the last house? Or like I have at my home? Could you make your home as nice as my home so I can buy your home? And buy your home for 4 or 5 times what I paid for my home. Unbelievable. Just weird stuff. But when you stop and you think about it and you pull it all back together, and we came home, broke out a bottle of wine, went out to our back porch, turned all the lights on, and just sat and looked at how incredible it was. We walked around the front of the house just to believe how incredible it was. You drive up to my house. I remember the first time I ever drove up here with my real estate agent. I said, this can't be the house. This has got to be the country club for the subdivision. This is bigger than any house ever would be. It's got 3 buildings to it. It can't be a house. She said, no, that's it. And there was a little sign. And today, to this day, that little sign is still there at the curb of my driveway, which says, private residence, no entry. Wow. Private residence that looks like a country club. Mind-boggling. And then I woke up and go, wow, I've got 150 emails here. I better look at some of them. Threw about 100 of them out, got down to 50, and all of my businesses had been doing and running themselves for a week. I never even bothered to ask anybody if they're still there. Just went away and came back. And of course they're there. But they're there now with 3 more businesses than what I had before I left. And that's what will continue to go for the rest of my life. More, more, more. Remember, though, more is not better. Better is better. So with every business that I create, I'm looking to create a more sound, solid, passive position that I don't have to do anything. Because I don't want more businesses so I have more work. I want more businesses to work so I don't have to work. And so at someday, I can buy the house on the top of the cliff with the helicopter pad and afford to throw the helicopter in. Hey, man, if I'm buying your house or your helicopter pad, you got to throw the copter in, too. And you know what somebody said when I told them that? They said, sure, I think we can make that happen. And that's the level. That is the level of wealth that you can never perceive or conceive of doing what you're doing, even if you do what you're doing for the rest of your life.
The information and opinions you hear on the Del Walmsley radio show are those of the host, Del Walmsley, his guests, and his callers, and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this station, its affiliates, its management, or advertisers. The Del Walmsley show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented on the Del Walmsley show constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.